way I'm sitting directly in front of my one and only window, and I still feel like I'm sitting in a dark room. Ugh. Is that better? Is that worse? I just live with the fact that I have the worst lighting ever. Rant aside, hi guys, welcome back to another monthly TBR video. We're here with my trusty TBR mug, and we're gonna pick out the books that I want to read in February. Like a lot of people, I took a break from doing the TBR videos in January. Well, I haven't really posted anything in January, so I've just taken a break from YouTube and videos in general after Bookmas, but I am so excited to get back into the TBR videos because these are my favorite to film. They are just so much fun, and I have missed having a dedicated TBR. I've done a bit of a refresh on my TBR cart, which don't be fooled, this is not all of the books that I have on my TBR. This is like half of them. These are the ones that I'm most interested in right now, and a huge goal of mine for this year is to get through a bunch of series. So this whole top shelf is actually full of series that I need to continue, and I've already started working through series in January, and it's been so much fun, and it's getting me more excited to where right now I'm really just in a series mood. It's kind of all I want to pick up. I just want to continue and even start new series, which is both good and bad. So hopefully a lot of the prompts that I pick allow me to pick books from that top shelf, and I think I'm gonna pick 6 books because that feels like a pretty reasonable TBR. On average, I feel like I read between 4 and 6 books a month lately, so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. And yeah, let's just go ahead and pick the first prompt because I can't wait to get into it. An author I've never read before. So there goes completing a series with that one. I keep forgetting, but February is Valentine's Day, so I feel like I want to throw in at least one romance in there. This could be a really good option for a romance. I think I'm gonna go with Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, which is a rom-com that I've heard is actually really funny, which I feel like is kind of rare. I feel like a lot of times with romance books, comedy doesn't really connect. A lot of times it's very cringy or just not funny to me, but I've heard from people that I know in real life and people that I watch online that this is actually really funny, and it's about a comedian and her manager who's also an ex-comedian, so just by nature the characters are like super jokey and funny, I guess. And I've just heard that it has a really great romance as well. I am in a very fantasy mood right now, and I have tried to pick up 1 or 2 romance books here and there, and I've just put them all down because I'm not really able to get into it, but I feel like if it actually is funny, that's something that could really help me to get back into the romance genre, so I'm rooting for this one. I'm hoping I can actually get into it, unlike the others that I've tried lately. Prompt number 2 is Food on the Cover. I feel like I'm not gonna have too many options for this. Maybe Magnolia Parks? No, definitely not. That's just a pirate ship. I always forget that. Okay, unless I missed something, I don't think a single one of these has food on it, so I think I have to pick again. Okay, set outside the US. I know exactly what I want. This is perfect because I'm gonna go with Us Against You, which is book 2 in the Beartown series, which takes place in a made-up town in Sweden. At least I think Beartown is a made-up town. I guess it could be real. I read Beartown this month, and I will save my thoughts for a reading vlog that should be coming out soon and my wrap-up, but I loved it and I cannot wait to continue. This is basically about a small town that revolves a lot around hockey. It's really all they've got going on in the town, so we are following the ins and out of the hockey teams, and at the same time something really tragic happens to a young character in the town, and we are just following the aftermath of that, how it affects the town, hockey, families, everybody. It's definitely a bit of a heavy series, but one that I am very excited to continue, and I just knew I had to find a prompt that was going to fit this one, so I'm very excited. Third prompt is a book with a map. So pretty much any fantasy book. I think I have to go with Onyx Storm. Let me just triple check that this has a map. Yeah. Of course it does. Another series that I want to continue, which is the Empyrean series, first of which is Fourth Wing. Everybody and their mother knows about this book, so I'm sure I don't have to explain it to you, but it's a fantasy romance with dragons. This book just came out in January, and I wasn't like dying to get this book like a lot of people were, but I am very excited to see what we're gonna do because the second book ended in a way that I feel like is setting up this third book just to be very interesting. I can't really say anything without spoiling stuff for the other books, but I was very looking forward to this book coming out, and I wanted to get to it pretty soon while everybody else is enjoying it while the hype is high. I don't know if you can tell, but my friend came over for a little bit, so I had to pause. But I'm back, and let's pick my 4th book. Totally forgot where we left off. Okay. Pick number 4 is Animal on the Cover. I think I'll have better luck with this one. Okay, I knew this one was gonna have a dog on it, but I don't know if I'm ready for this one. I was kind of waiting for summer. What about this one, which is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. This is one that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, but I'm also kind of intimidated by. It's a sci-fi and it's super short, so I thought this was gonna be a really quick read, but I've heard that this is one where you actually kind of have to turn your brain on and kind of focus while you're reading because it's not the easiest to read. I don't think it's the content, I think it's more so the writing style, but I have heard a couple of people struggling to get into this one because it's just not very straightforward, I think, but I'm trying to not let that stop me. I still want to give it a chance because I've heard amazing things about this, and because it's so short, I want to go into it as blind as humanly possible. All I know is that this is about 2 agents, I guess, who are working on opposite sides of a war, and there's something about time travel involved, and they are writing letters to each other, and then I think that they maybe fall in love. Don't know, don't want to know any more than that. This is one that I feel like maybe a little bit challenging challenging, but I feel like it's good to challenge myself every once in a while and to just read something different. I don't know the last time that I read a sci-fi, and it's a genre that I'm wanting to expand into more because so far I seem to really enjoy it. So this is pick number 4. Prompt number 5 is a title that starts with the word the. I've got Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I would count that. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, The Soulmate, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I have quite a few options. I think that maybe I'll go with this one. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is one that I feel like I wanted to get to a lot sooner and I kind of forgot about it. And now it's not totally on my radar and I'd love to change that. This is the second book in a duology, but there's actually a novella that goes in between the 2 books. So I've read the first book and the novella, and I wasn't super obsessed with this, but I really enjoyed the novella and it followed a completely different plot and a totally different set of characters compared to book 1. So I'm really intrigued to see how we're going to tie in book 1 and the novella, or if the novella was just a blip that has nothing to do with this book that was just kind of like a fun add-on. I'm not sure. I'm excited to see what we get up to in this book. This is an adult fantasy and it's about vampires. It's I think the only series that I've ever read about vampires, and in book 1 we are following our main character who I don't remember her name. She is a human in this predominantly vampire world where it's very dangerous to be a human because you're just so weak in comparison, and every maybe 100 years or so the vampires have a set of trials, kind of like the Hunger Games, where they compete for, I think, a wish is what you win. And our main character decides to compete in these trials, and she's the only human to maybe ever compete in them because it's always vampires, and humans don't really stand a chance against vampires. So that's the plot of the first book, and it was fun. It's time for the last prompt already, which is a 5-star prediction. That is a lot of pressure on a book. I know what I want. I want to do Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is another fantasy duology, and the whole duology was definitely a 5-star prediction for me. Book 1 wasn't a 5-star. I think I gave it 4. I really enjoyed it, but I felt like it wasn't something super special that I got like really sucked into. But again, I feel like that's very hard with the first book in a fantasy series. But I've heard that this one is like 10 times better than book 1. Actually, I think there's mixed opinions. Some people really like book 1 better, but I'm really intrigued by book 2 because of the way that we ended the first book. It just sets us up for something really interesting and kind of unique, I feel like. This already I feel like was such a unique premise of a book compared to a lot of fantasy things that I feel like we see over and over in books. So I'm really hoping that the second book is a 5-star for me and that I just absolutely love it. Which, if you're unaware, the first book is One Dark Window. We are following Elspeth, who lives in this town called Blunder, where there is this mist that's kind of plaguing the whole city, where if you go into it, I don't remember like if you get sick or if you get some weird abilities or what happens if you go into the mist, but the mist is something that everybody is afraid of, and there is some sort of like sickness, illness going around that if you're found to have the illness, you will be executed. And Elspeth may or may not have this sickness. She has a voice in her head that she calls the Nightmare, which I feel like was so interesting in the first book. And the magic system is what is just really unique about this book, because the magic system revolves around these playing cards. There's I think 12 different kinds of cards. Some of them are more rare than others, and they each grant the user a different magical ability. Some of the cards are lost. People don't know exactly who owns what cards, and it's believed that if all of the cards are united, then it will rid Blunder of this mist. So we are kind of on the hunt to get all 12 playing cards. It's one that I really wanted to get to soon because I just read the first book like within the last 2 or 3 months, and I wanted to get to it while it was fresh in my mind. And just like The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, it's a duology, so when I finish this one, I'll be done, which will feel really good to knock 2 series off my list this month if I can actually read them. Actually, I guess with Onyx Storm, it would be 3 series that I'm at least up to date with or completed, which would be amazing. All right, as I said, I'm very much in a fantasy mood, and I feel like this reflects that. We have 3 fantasy books, 1 sci-fi, 1 general fiction, and then 1 rom-com, which I feel like is honestly a pretty good mix. Doesn't feel like a very like romancy, Valentine's Day, February kind of TBR. That's just not really what I'm in the mood for. This is what I'm in the mood for. For an author I've never read before, we have Funny Feelings. For a book set outside the US, I chose Us Against You. So excited about this one. For a book with a map, we have Onyx Storm. For animals on the cover, This Is How You Lose the Time War. For a title that starts with the word the, we have The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And my 5-star prediction is Two Twisted Crowns. I am genuinely so excited for all of these books. Pretty sure I say that most months, but there are some times when there's a book that I'm just not really that into. The one I'm not itching to get to is Funny Feelings, but I still have high hopes and I think it's going to be really fun. And I feel like the TBR doesn't look very long, but for some reason it feels kind of like an intimidating one. Maybe that's just because I haven't had a set TBR for the past month, but I don't know, I feel like I have some big ones in here. But yeah, that is everything for my TBR. I've missed doing these so much, and I really hope that you guys are still enjoying these and want to keep seeing the TBR videos for the rest of 2025. I'm always game to switch things up, so if you want to see me try a different method of picking my TBR, let me know. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!